What's going on? Welcome back in. I got the red mic. We're talking about some ball. I got a great show for you guys. We got 6 key games, some dogs that may be alive, some favorites that might bring out the belt. We got to pay for the drinks parlay, and as always, we wrap it up with some Mikey core, but some quick housekeeping for all my NFL stuff. Make sure you go to the Sportsline YouTube and the Sportsline Instagram pages. We got a great thing going over there, so make sure you check it out, but let's get right to it. Quick recap from last week. We knew Diego Pavia with the white shiesty was going to do some horrible things to Brian Kelly, who should be fired. Some quick foreshadowing to one of the plays we're going to get to. But we didn't have the best week last week. Duke is just the fakest sharp team of all time. They fit the system, but unfortunately, they filled their diaper, and it was just never Duke. Especially after last episode where we gave Georgia Tech their flowers and we faded them. Sometimes the universe has a way of grabbing my face and just slapping me with all 5 across it. And that was one of those. Universe, I deserved it. We move. Ty Simpson, please become a New York Jet. Speaking of, everybody welcome Garrett to the set. He is new. Be nice. I am watching you. The amount of spreads we got hooked on. Late night Auburn. USC was a good one. Late night Auburn. Ole Miss was an absolute disaster. Up 9, then not covering. We're just going to, what we're going to do? We're going to wash the week away, other than the fact that I'm going to mention it was always Mississippi State. They should have won that game. What a cover. They are our wagon. Foreshadowing. We're betting on them again. But we're going to flush last week. New week, fresh week. Let's get to some games that I want to talk about, and let's have a great week. Come here real quick. I just want to let you guys in on a little secret. I just put $500 on the Knicks to win the NBA championship. I put another $500 on the Pelicans over 31.5 wins. And I did take Providence to win the NCAA championship. So if you want to lock in with the kid, we're going to talk some basketball. We're going to talk some college basketball this year. But lock in those 3, not for as much as I did. That's silly, stupid. The only reason we locked those in is because we hit the 6-teamer on a random Tuesday. We're recording this on Wednesday. But we hit the 6-teamer on a random Tuesday. That's back-to-back 6-teamers. Make sure you follow on the Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for everything else. But let's get to college football and week 9. And we got to start with the game of the weekend. Missou going into Vanderbilt. There's only one option we have. And when Diego Pavia thinks he's Johnny Manziel and throws on the white shiesty mask walking into the stadium and then obliterates LSU, we're just going to take him again. We talked about it last episode. The thing about Diego Pavia is he's just a pit bull. And what do pit bulls do really well? They protect their home. Does Road Pavia scare me? Yeah, you take a pit bull out on the walk, suddenly it doesn't feel that big, it's not barking as loud. But when he stays at home and he's having his normal dog food and he's around an environment that he's comfortable with and he's got a packed out stadium that believes, he's going to defend his home and he's going to bite you. So give me Vandy money line again. And yes, we are making a habit of fading Missou. Do I think it's smart every week? No. Have we done it every week? Yes. But this is just to trust the pit bull at home to defend his home. And if we got to start giving Diego Pavia and this Vandy team their flowers. This is a Vandy team that he was pitching to the coach. Listen, man, take a shot on me. I'm going to make this team a bowl team. I'm going to make this team a playoff team. Just please take a shot on me. And then stayed last year after a lot of colleges, threw 7 figures at him because he said, listen, I'm building something here at Vandy. And I like that. I like a kid that's got a chip on his shoulder. I like a kid that's back against the wall. And there's something about Diego Pavia that even though they are the favorite, I know he's going into this game thinking they're the underdog. And I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of the public takes Missou, but I'm going to be on Diego, Johnny Manziel, Pavia to knock off another ranked team at home. This is a top 10 Vanderbilt team we're talking about. If you're a Vanderbilt team, man, smell in this top 10 air. Drink in the flowers around you. Go out on Broadway, hit Aldean's, get a couple more beers than you normally would because you're ranked in the top 10. And who thought you'd be here? Not me, but that's so cool for you guys. The next game I want to talk about is a game that I feel like preseason, nobody would have talked about it. But now we're at a point where one team is red hot. They got Jerry, who you'd think is the head coach, but he's actually the OC against an Indiana team in Kirk Cignetti that looks like they're just going to keep blowing every team out until we go, okay, we respect you now, Kirk. And then he's going to go, well, watch me do it in the playoffs. Indiana taking on UCLA in Indiana with a 25.5 point spread and over under 54.5. Holy. I'm going to take the over here. I feel like my poopy side of my brain says just take UCLA with 25.5 points because they just keep doing it. And normally what I would do is I would start spite fading a team that's stolen my money 2 weeks in a row, and UCLA has done that. but I got to take this over 54.5. I love this spot. I think there's going to be points everywhere. I wouldn't be shocked if UCLA kept it close, but in case they don't, I feel like that over bakes in an Indiana blowout where they score 44, 45 plus points on this UCLA team and maybe brings them down to earth a little bit. But shout out Bluntman from Barcelona, man. I mean, that kid's having the time of his life. And you love to see it. You love to see a program that's in shambles. They fire the head coach. Suddenly there's this surfer, blonde hair OC that's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to revive the entire program. And you just get to victory lap everyone that keeps doubting you. But I absolutely love this UCLA Indiana over 54.5. I might sprinkle on the plus 25.5, but that's just for me. I don't want you guys to lose your ass because that's a potential lose your ass spot. Sound the alarms. Get SpongeBob typing on the machine because we've got another system. And yes, the system did let us down last week. And I'm not going to say the system's 100% because nothing's ever 100% except for me putting parlays in every single day. That you can put 100% on. The system is back. Iowa State, an unranked home favorite against a ranked BYU, and they are winning. We're taking Iowa State money line as much as we possibly can in this spot. BYU and that Holy War game looked incredible. I need to go. But if you're a BYU fan, it felt like you emptied the tank against Utah. It felt like that was your key mark game. Give it everything you got. Got everybody and their mother going to see what this rivalry is. It ends up being one of the best games we've ever seen, one of the best environments we've ever seen. And now you got to go on the road to Iowa State. And I think it's just one of those letdown spots for BYU because you finally breathe. Going into that Utah game, you're an underdog. You play Utah. You're biting kneecaps off. It ends up being a phenomenal game. And now you go into Iowa State, and I just think it's a perfect letdown spot for BYU. And I think there's a reason that Iowa State is favored because I think BYU gave it their all in that Utah game. And I think you can fade teams coming off such an emotional game like that where you're not only giving your physical energy, but your emotional energy because it means that much. And now you walk into an Iowa State team that's kind of gritting their teeth, ready to try to get back on track here. And I think Iowa State absolutely runs them out of the field. However, having said that, if you're a BYU fan, take this moment in. Soak a little longer than you normally would because you won the Holy War, and that's huge. The next game we got to talk about is one of my favorite games of the entire weekend. Texas at Mississippi State. Our darling Blake Shapen, our darling Fluff Bothwell. I'm taking Mississippi State as many ways as I possibly can. I'm taking the plus 6.5. I'm taking the money line. Texas shouldn't have beat Oklahoma. I'm going to be the guy, all right? I apologize to Lauren. I'm just going to be the guy that's hating on Texas because we're overrating them once again. This is a Texas team that should have lost to Oklahoma if John Mateer had a right hand and didn't just come off surgery. This is a Texas team that almost just lost to the University of Kentucky. Not in basketball, in football. And now you're coming into my darling, darling, darling Mississippi State's house with a very short spread. And I'm going to be the guy that says, give me Mississippi State. I don't think anyone's paying attention to how many spreads Mississippi State has covered this year and how good they really look. They get in shootouts. They keep it close. And I wouldn't be shocked if Mississippi State plus 6.5 is the wager of the weekend for me. And I'm also going to take their money line because I think this is a Blake Shapen. You win this game. You shock Texas. Now Texas has another loss. You're better than Kentucky. I think they're on par, maybe a couple steps back from Oklahoma. And this Texas team, without this defense, is one of the worst offenses in the entire SEC. And this Mississippi State defense, I think, is going to give Arch trouble again. So give me Mississippi State plus 6.5. Give me Mississippi State money line. I think they knock off Texas at home. And if I'm a Mississippi State fan, you need to pack this house. You need to get every cowbell within 100, 200, 2,000 mile radius of that stadium in that stadium. We need butts in seats. We need cowbells ringing because I got news for you. This should be an Arch walks into that stadium and Mississippi State feels like the favorite. He should walk into that stadium shaking in his boots because that stadium is shaking. That stadium is reverberating, and there's cowbells in his sleep at night for the next week. So if I'm a Mississippi State fan, this is the game of the year. You have a chance to beat the University of Texas. You have a chance to knock off one of the biggest brands in college football, and you have a chance to do it with me behind you. Not that that means anything, because who the hell am I? But you're my darling, so please just go do it for me. If you're a Texas fan, you're squeaking by. You're squeaking by. Winning solves a lot of problems. But I think that next loss that is coming to University of Texas and will come very soon, don't sound the alarms. Don't burn the villages in GTA. This program is going to be just fine. Arch is going to be, I'm sure, generational prospect next year, the year after, if he decides to stay. Everything's going to be fine, but this game is going to get out of hand for you. Next game I want to talk about is we're fading them again. He should lose his gosh darn job. Texas A&M is playing LSU. In LSU, Texas A&M is the favorite. We're taking A&M money line because Brian Kelly shouldn't have a job. Brian Kelly, we've talked about it on many of these episodes. He's just a guy that you just wouldn't want a beer with. And I feel as though that's very rare in the world, that you see a guy and you go, I don't even want to drink a beer with him, let alone a vodka soda, let alone be at the bar till 2 a.m. going, can we just play Wonderwall one more time? And he's just not a guy I would want to do that with. He's not a guy I'd want to do that with at all. But that's not why I'm fading him. I'm fading him because this LSU team's not good. Garrett Nussmeier, I can't tell if he's injured. I can't tell what's going on with him. He's not the prospect that I thought he was going to be going into this year, and I think a lot of college football fans were looking forward to. You watch that SEC documentary, you'd think LSU is bringing back Peyton Manning because that's how he was playing the year prior. And I do think Kyron Lacy, God rest his soul, was a large portion of that offense doing well. They really don't have that weapon. Aaron Anderson hasn't filled the shoes of those great LSU wide receivers before him. And they don't have a guy that opens it up that they can take the top off with like they could with Kyron Lacy, God rest his soul. And I love Marcel Reed. And now you're telling me I can take my guy Marcel Reed to be the reason why Brian Kelly loses his job? Yeah, ma'am, I'll have another. And unfortunately, this LSU defense is comparable to last year's LSU defense, which is non-existent. It's non-existent. Wood Weeks is a phenomenal prospect. As a Jets fan, I'd love to have him stop the run, hit someone hard. But unfortunately, they're not any better than I think we thought they were going to be going into this year. And I love this A&M team. I think this A&M team is so for real. And I think for whatever reason, as a college football community, we're still not really talking about them enough for how good they've played and how many dominant wins they've had. And now they have a chance to, I think, kind of put the world on notice and go, hey, guys, the Aggies are here. We're not going to do what we've done in years past, which is absolutely fill our diaper in a big game, lose 4 games, and miss out on everything. So I'm all in on A&M this year. I'm all in on A&M to beat LSU. And you know, obviously you don't want to wish well on or wish poorly on anybody, but I do think Brian Kelly deserves to lose his job. You know, he's taking a brand that with Coach O and the Joe Burrows and the Jamar Chases everybody loved, and he kind of brought this, you know, just not a great energy and a great vibe. Everyone's seen the recruit pictures where he's on the rotating thing, and he's like, yeah, it's like, dude, maybe just let the kid stand on that, you know, for his buddies at home. You sense that to his buddies. If I was getting recruited to LSU, I wasn't 150, soaking wet, and I was getting recruited to LSU, and I sent a video of me and Brian Kelly, and he was like dancing on the thing, my buddies would be like, dude, you can't go. You can't go. First, you can't post that. Second, you can't go, because that's no. So, you know, it's just a shame what's happening over there. Last key game I want to talk about is Ole Miss going into Oklahoma with a 5.5-point spread. Shockingly, Ole Miss is plus 5.5 after going into Georgia and being plus, I think it was 8.5, 7.5 some places. Not covering after having a 9-point win. This is a perfect get-back spot for Ole Miss. I'm taking the plus 5.5. I'm taking the money line. Oklahoma with a great win against South Carolina. Unfortunately, South Carolina is not a good football program. Unfortunately. I love that coach. I love Lenora Sellers. But unfortunately, they're just not a great program right now. I think they can be great. I think they will be great. But that OU win does nothing for me. Does nothing for me. John Mateer still doesn't look like himself, which I think is fine. I think a lot of people overreact. You know, if he goes to the draft, people are like, don't draft John Mateer looking at these games. He's not himself because he had to get surgery on his throwing hand. And I think, you know, Oklahoma is in a spot where they have to play the kid. And now you have a really big game against Lane Kiffin at home, which is why I think you're getting Oklahoma at minus 5.5. I'm going to take Ole Miss plus 5.5 in the money line. I think this is a perfect get-right spot for Ole Miss. Still assert yourselves. I don't think anyone is talking negatively about Ole Miss after playing Georgia. It's Kirby Smart. You can't put him away. That team is like a cockroach no matter who's on the roster, who's at quarterback, who's on the defense. Kirby Smart's one of the best coaches of all time, and he's just going to prove it every time we doubt him, and I doubted him. But now Lane Kiffin has a get-right game against an Oklahoma team whose quarterback is a little shaky and a Brent Venables team that isn't what I wanted them to be, and now you have a chance as Ole Miss to go into an Oklahoma house and kind of reassert yourself and go, guys, it's only our first loss. Let's just everybody relax. We're going to be just fine. We had to go into Georgia. And everything after going into Georgia is a little bit easier. I'm not saying it's easy to play in Norman, but when you got to go to Athens and you're not a gladiator, that's a tough spot to be in. But I'm taking Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss plus 5.5. I'm going to sprinkle on the money line. It just seems like a perfect get-right spot for them. And I love this spot for them. I think Ole Miss is a great football program, and we're going to take them to the mountaintop. So I'm all in on Ole Miss. Absolutely. All right, we move to our next segment. The dogs are alive, or is somebody bringing out the belt? Just some other wagers that I like this week. We're going to try to keep these episodes short so you guys can digest them on your lunch break, on your walks, while your girlfriend's yelling at you, while your dad's telling you get up off your ass, but you got an AirPod in. So let's talk about some other games that I really like. Virginia minus 10.5. Just get the belt out, dude. Bill Belichick coaching this team. They're horrible. He should have stayed retired or stayed in the NFL. He's just not built for the college game. And this Virginia team has been our little darling the past couple weeks, if you've been following along. And I just hope they bring out the belt on Jordan and Bill, because this team is a complete joke. I mean, you're hearing reports of Jordan at commercials. She's on the sideline. She might as well have a headset on calling the offense with how bad this team looks. So give me Virginia to just go, Bill, you should have stayed in the NFL, or you should have stayed retired on the beach wearing Halloween costumes with your 23-year-old girlfriend. And that's what I want Virginia to do. And I think they will. This Virginia team is very good. And I'm taking the 10.5. Bring out the belt, Virginia. Illinois playing Washington. Just give me the over 54.5. We've taken a lot of DeMond Williams overs, and it seems like it's always tooth and nail, gritting our teeth, trying to get them. This one I think is going to come relatively easy. If you want to beat Luke Altmaier, you got to win by putting up points. You can't rely on your defense to stop that kid, because at some point, every single game, this Illinois team, they just open the floodgates, and here comes the water. They break the dam, here comes the water. So if you're DeMond Williams, this is a put something on tape for the boys at the next level. To be like, yeah, but if you look at that game against Illinois, when I threw for 300 yards, 400 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, that's why you draft me. And I think this is a great spot to do that. I think there's going to be points galore. So not necessarily a dog barking or a belt coming out, but just points, fill my holes with points. Alabama going into South Carolina, plus 12.5. That's just too many points. We got burnt last week on South Carolina, but I'm going to go back again just because if there was ever a letdown spot for this Bama team, and I love Alabama, I just want to say this to all Bama teams. This is not me fading the program. This is not me giving up on the program, because I do have a national championship ticket. I want the Jets to draft Ty Simpson like my life depends on it. But unfortunately, 12.5 points is a lot of points. That's a lot of points. And do I think Ty Simpson should bring out the belt on this South Carolina team? I do. But there's something about the SEC where you can't take a game off. And I don't know why, but I'm getting a weird tummy feeling that this is going to be a weird game. It's very easy to get up if you're South Carolina to go, dude, we got Bama coming into town. Can we just make a statement, guys? Can we make a statement? Nobody thinks we're going to win. We're a 12.5 point dog. Throw it in the locker room wall. Whereas if you're on the other side of the aisle and you're Alabama, is it easy to get up for South Carolina? Maybe the narrative is greatness, go in and do your job. But if I can get a team that's going to be riled up, that's easier to get up with 12.5 points in my pocket, I feel like I should take it every time. South Carolina plus 12.5. Tennessee going into Kentucky, just bring out the belt minus 8.5. We're going to overrate Kentucky after keeping it close with Texas, but I'm going to be the guy, again, apologies to Lauren, that's going to tell you Texas isn't good, man. They're not good. And Kentucky keeping it close with Texas, do not use that recency bias to go, wait, maybe Kentucky's building something. Maybe they're going to make some games interesting. No. Aguilar's going to go in there, and they're going to bring out that belt on Kentucky, and it's going to get really bad for them. So Tennessee minus 8.5 is a nuclear whale. Kansas State going into Kansas. Give me Kansas. Jalen Daniels game. This is the Jalen Daniels game. Go beat the in-state rivals. Send the Kansas State team home that we bet on the first or week 0 in Dublin when they absolutely crapped their drawers and filled their diaper with poopy. Give me Kansas to just put them back in their spot. I can't stand Avery Johnson. I can't stand that Kansas State team now. Jalen Daniels, go do Jalen Daniels' thing and put yourself back on the map. Reassert yourself in the Big 12 and get a big win at home and do it in Jalen Daniels' fashion and put them away early. Northwestern, going into Nebraska. Matt Rule's taking the Penn State job. If Matt Rule doesn't take the Penn State job, I won't believe in humanity anymore. You met your wife there. You grew up a fan. You came out of the womb in a Penn State shirt. Your dad probably popped a Penn State shirt off the night that you were conceived. And here's the thing about it. He's going to take Dylan Raiola with him. However, this Nebraska team has yet to impress. Am I the only one? Yet to impress. It feels like Dylan Raiola still dressing up like Pat Mahomes but playing like Jackson. You know, when you go out for Halloween, you can't dress up like a skeleton and act like a zombie. It just doesn't work for me. So if you're going to act like Pat Mahomes, just be Pat Mahomes. Throw the ball like Pat Mahomes. Play like Pat Mahomes. If you're going to do the warm-up, the celebration, just be Pat Mahomes. And I want to believe in the kid because I think Nebraska's a fun program. I love Nebraska. But give me Nebraska minus 6.5 here against Northwestern. I can't do it with Preston Stone. I can't do it. I think the line right now is 7.5 on Wednesday. I bought it down to 6.5. It wasn't that much juice. You'd be shocked. I think it was like minus 125, which I'm fine putting $100 on that every single time just to get it under a touchdown. But Nebraska minus 6.5, I'm taking that. SMU at Wake. It's our Super Bowl for Robbie Ashford if he plays. He's still nursing the hand injury. Wake is plus 3.5. The over-under is 54.5. I'm going to lock in the over and Wake once he is officially healthy. They're saying he's tracking to play. But because Robbie Ashford is our Mikey Over Heisman of the Year, which is just, Mikey Over's guys, they got swag. They play with swag. I love the I'm taking that every day of the week. Give me the over. Give me Wake plus 3.5. If Robbie's healthy. If Robbie is not healthy, do not take that. Put it on SMU because they're going to try to go for the ACC chip now after knocking off Clemson. But just please wait to see if Robbie gets healthy. Also, just wanted to take a moment here. It just hit me. Moment of silence for Wisconsin team total. Potentially the worst bet in the entire world was Wisconsin team total over 7.5. Going to Madison for an Ohio State game that had a 25-point spread. How do you get yourself up for that? How do you get yourself excited for that? How do you make people want to pay attention to that game? I tried to find an angle on Wisconsin. It did not work. They are very bad. Luke Fickell should be fired. I think when you listen to Big Cat talk about the state of that program, it almost makes you sad because when you watch it, and as someone that visited, which by the way got to spend a lot of time with Monte Ball, one of the coolest dudes I've ever been around, you realize how much that program means to these guys, obviously, and especially the fan base and how beautiful that school is and how big that football program is. And when you see fans waiting in the fourth quarter, staying through all of it for that last drive with a minute left, literally we're on the field. I can hear the fans cheering. All they were saying was, give us something to cheer for. They're not booing Luke Fickell. That was the student section. The real fans that are season ticket holders, the old heads, were sitting there behind the Wisconsin bench. They're not booing him. All they were asking was for something to cheer for. Literally, there was like 5 dudes, multiple sections that were going, just give us something to cheer for. And they couldn't do it. And I feel like when that's the reality of the situation, you have to change something. You have to show the fan base that, listen, we're not okay with getting shut out. We're not okay with losing these games like this. We know how much Badger football means to Badgers. But they didn't. Instead, they went the other route and they said, we're going to give them more money, which is just, however it be, whatever. Auburn, Arkansas, what do? It seems like every time I click the Auburn button, they just get smoked, and it's a horrible bet. I'm just going to take Auburn plus 1.5. I'm just going to sprinkle it. Maybe a half unit, maybe 0.75 of a unit. I just can't, man. But I got to do it because I get this bug in my brain where I go, I just need to see one go through the hoop. I just need to be right on this team one time, and then I'll be good to go for the rest of the year. So this Auburn plus 1.5 is my last chance for them. If they don't cover this game, I just want to put everyone that's watching this video on notice. We will, in fact, be fading them every single game for the rest of the year. But last chance. Let's give it to them. All right, we have to talk about it. Overs of the century. We took it last week, and it smacked. Here's this week's over the century. Baylor at Cincinnati at 67.5. Fill my whole points, man. 67.5. When there's a high total like that, we used to have it, so it's already locked. Click the button, 67.5. We move to the last segment before we get to some Mikey Core. The college football pay for the drinks parlay. This is how you're paying for your drinks. On a Saturday with college football in the air, get the pitchers, get the vodka sodies up and moving. 3 legs. South Florida money line. Memphis just called a loss. South Florida, I think everyone faded them in their last start and weekday. You have to be the group of 5 team. I need Byron Brown to be the group of 5 team, and I love him so much. You're a 5.5 point favorite. Just go win the game on the road. I know it's going to be a really hard win for them, but they can get it how they want it, and that's going to be the hard way. South Florida money line. Second leg, follow the systems, follow the treasure map, and unranked home favorite against a ranked team after BYU gave everything they had, their heart and soul, into the Holy War. Now Iowa State, bring them into town and just spank them a little bit, but let them get out with their dignity. Ole Miss plus 5.5. This is a Lane Kiffin bounce back game. You need to right the ship. You need to get everything right. The fan base believes. He believes. Everyone is going to be fine at Ole Miss. This is a great spot to get him against a John Mateer who still doesn't look comfortable using that hand. Ole Miss plus 5.5. 3 legs. That's how you're paying for your drinks on a Saturday. Lock it in now. Let's have a gosh darn day, shall we? All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We got a little bit of Mikey core to get you guys out of here. Something I've been really focusing on, and my parents aren't in town, and that's nice. I haven't gotten to see them a lot these past couple of years, so they came down to Florida and they're visiting. But something I've been thinking about a lot is just this idea of fright. And I think in my life, I'm very anxious. I have a serious anxiety problem, and it's something that I struggle with every day, and I get very self-conscious about the way that I look, the way that I'm feeling, the way that people are perceiving me, and I think it breeds this feeling of fright, and I get scared in moments. I get scared to go into the gym. I get scared to do certain things. And a conversation I was having with my dad the other night was just, you got to do it. You got to do it. You might feel scared. You might feel like it's not going to go right. You might be building every single narrative in your head of what can go wrong, and I do that frequently. But you'll never know unless you do it. And the only way you truly fail is if you don't try. Everyone that hasn't tried has failed, and it's because they didn't try. And if you just try, you're giving yourself a chance to succeed. So everything in my life now, I'm just approaching with this mindset of just do it. If you fail, you fail. If you fail, you fail. What's the worst that happens? You try again. When you fail in a video game, do you try again? If you don't win the natty in your video game, do you try again? When you miss your first 3 of the game in basketball, do you shoot again? When you turn the ball over in soccer and you get the ball back, do you try again? In our entire lives growing up, you continue to try in everything as a kid, and then we become adults and we get scared of just trying. Because we're scared of what people are going to think. We're scared of what's going to happen. We're scared of what failure feels like. But I promise you, there's always another side of failure. I've failed many times. Not that I am successful by any means, but I have failed multiple times. And I promise you, there is good on the other side of failure. You learn about yourself. You change yourself. You can become something greater than you were before you tried, and it's just because you tried. So if you're at home and you feel anxious or you get these feelings of fright or you get scared, just think of me, because I'm scared and I'm feeling fright every single day, even with the simple things, going to the gym, going into a store, talking to the people at work, doing things for the first time. Like, it's very nerve-wracking and anxiety-ridden. I promise you, if you can just bring yourself to try, you're going to feel better. Thank you guys so much for watching these videos. Please share it with a friend. Like, subscribe, comment, all of it, please. It would mean the world. The views we've been getting, I can't even stress how much I appreciate you guys. It's meant the world to me. I love you guys so much. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Let's cash some slips, hopefully. Please do everything responsibly. It's still gambling at the end of the day. Hopefully I made you laugh. Hopefully I made you smile. Have a great week. Please like and subscribe. I love you guys so much. We'll see you here next week.